good evening, and welcome to another edition of the New Black Leadership Coalition here live, right here live over Facebook, Intellectual Radio, YouTube, going all over the world via the website, via the internet, etc., where you get your brains fed with information that will hopefully be inspiring, motivating, as well as moving, because that's what's missing. Movement in the movement. I am blessed and honored to have this opportunity, golden opportunity, for you over these precious airwaves. And tonight I have with me a very, very special guest, very honorable Black woman in America, around the universe.
Okay.
The doctor, professor, author, community activist, wife, and so many other attributes to her name. Welcome and glad to have you on there, and a member of the New Black Leadership, one of the co-founders. So we are so honored and blessed to have you on here.
Thanks
Sister
for having me.
Kimberly,
It's good to be
Professor,
here.
Dr. Arthur, Kim
Yeah.
Dulaney.
Be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, I figured since, I didn't tell you what we were going to talk about,
No.
but
That's why I'm sitting nervous. Okay.
right, well,
come
don't
on.
be nervous, because ain't no telling what's going to come out of my mouth,
Okay.
but I can rest for sure this conversation.
Mhm.
And one is, I want to talk about your book.
Okay.
I mean, how many books have you written thus far?
About 10 or 11, something like that.
About 10 or 11 books?
Yeah. About 10 or 11
And
books.
so, can we just hear the names of the book? I want to, but while you thinking about
Let's
the
talk
name,
about my new book. Let's talk about my new book.
All right. So before we talk about your new book, I just want to put this out here. I didn't really come prepared for a commentary, but I just noticed, in the news, and you weigh in on this. That is, while the girls was taking a trip.
Yeah.
The girls was taking a trip.
I went on that trip. Yeah.
And they grossed $30 million.
Yep.
At the theaters.
They did.
We have to give them applause. $30 million. The girls trip.
They call it.
And they was tripping on the black man though. Bill Cosby, OJ, Tiger Woods, Usher, R. Kelly, Kevin Hart.
Oh.
So while the girls was taking the trip, they was tripping on the black man. And we could say, well, the black man was tripping because some of it he brought on himself. But the media, how they distract us and misdirect us. So I do want to talk about the courage to lead. But I mentioned that because we got to be real careful that when we see that stuff going on, we just don't get caught up in the gossip, in the juicy part of it, so-called juicy part. But we see the demise, that some of it is self-inflicted, where, but who cares about Usher allegedly having, I'm calling it cold.
Okay.
So
all right.
Who cares about Kevin Hart supposedly, allegedly having, you said cheat, I'm gonna say involved with another female?
Okay.
Who cares? Now a lot of people want to say, well, we all cared about OJ, free OJ, free OJ. But it's not a matter of caring, but we did witness injustice. Totally overlooked. Had nothing to do with the previous alleged situation, because they did not find him guilty.
Right.
I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. You were not there. But at the end of the day, the man served 8 years.
Right.
For not just getting back the stuff that belonged to him. That was a slap on the hand.
Yes.
For anybody else. So that was white America saying we got the power and we could do whatever we want to do. And they showed how corrupt the system can be, and it had no regards to justice. just brought that up because I see people on the social media,
Yeah.
you know, dealing with it one way, but I was really bothered by the fact that, and I'm not a fan, and you don't have to be a fan of OJ.
Yeah.
It ain't got nothing to do with OJ.
That's right.
Because he was everybody's friend, or at least white people were very comfortable with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was running through the airports, Hertz rental car, speak to us. I mean, he had nothing to say to us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Didn't even consider himself a black man.
Right.
But I still defended, just like you would sit here and others, they would defend Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Although we know that it wasn't a great 8 years for black people. Mm-hmm. And for 8 years, did no black people say anything about the brother because they said the system handcuffed him and blah, 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 blah. So we defend you and others or whoever might defend the principles.
Defend people. I defend the principles. I don't do personality. So I don't defend people.
So your latest book, and come up to the mic.
Okay.
So we can hear you loud and clear.
Well, my newest book that'll be out in hopefully less than a couple of months is this book called what's the title of it?
Girls Come Back Home After the Trip.
No,
just kidding. No. Girls and Recipes.
It's called Beliefs, Black Men in Urban Education and the Life of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah A. Wright Jr.
Oh my God. Yeah. Now that's like two. Say that again.
Beliefs, Black Men in Urban Education and the Life of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah A. Wright Jr. So what that book is about, it's about Black boys in education, right? About this education system and how it treats Black males. And then we look at that through the life of Reverend Wright. Okay. Look at his life as a representation, as a representative of that population of Black men. Look at how he was treated. We look at the history of education and its Black people, right? And then come up to the day and why I picked Reverend Wright is because he's been very successful in leading Black men to through this educational system. He has a lot of people under his guidance who have obtained master's degrees and doctorates and things like that. So I wanted to look at why is he so successful? Not really necessarily what he does, because people try to mimic what he does, but I wanted to look at what made him do what he does. So I looked at his life and see what shaped him. Because what we do often is look at what somebody's doing and then we try to do what they're doing. But what happens is there's a grounded motivation in people that makes them who they are. So I wanted to look at that.
So Black theology is a big thing when it comes to Christ. Not Christ University, but Trinity.
Yeah, Trinity United Church.
Black theology.
Black liberation theology.
Black liberation theology,
right?
Which is even deeper. So go back to Reverend Wright. So because you said beliefs,
right?
You said Black men, and so what beliefs about? And then we talk about the system and how they treat Black boys as it relates to education.
So the name of the book, the title, you know, it has a subtitle. What I gave you was a subtitle. The title of the book is "They Don't Like Me: Beliefs, Black Men in Education. Beliefs, Black Males in Urban Education in the Life of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright Jr. But it's called "They Don't Like Me" because they don't like me.
Well, you sound like when you say that. What? Rapper from Chicago.
George Bush didn't like
they don't like us.
They don't. That's the name of the book is "They Don't Like Me," and it starts with a little. I don't want to give it all out, but it starts with a little story about it.
Well, we're gonna talk about where they can purchase the book too.
Okay, now. Yes, about a student that I had who actually said that to me. He kept getting in the fights, and they would send him up because I was the only teacher that could kind of calm him down. And one day I said, you know, why you come up here every day? What's wrong with you? Why you always got to come in here? You just be wanting to come see. And he said, no, they don't like me here. I'm like, why you say that? He said, everything I do is wrong. The way I walk, the way I talk, the way I look, nothing satisfied them here. That's why I don't like being here. You know, I'd rather be with my friends. And I allowed him the space to go ahead and elaborate on what that meant for him. And he lived off 79th Street. He talked about when he hanged with the guys in his neighborhood, they appreciate him. They congratulate him on his basketball game. They laugh at his jokes. He don't have to change how he talks. And that moment was profound for me because I had went into elementary education to try to figure out where that disconnect was happening at. And that in that moment I got it. I understood it. He's saying that this system doesn't like me. Everything. So when I tell you the way you're talking is wrong, stop talking like that. Do this, do that, do that. You insult not just the student, but everybody that they love that's at their house that talk like that. Their grandmama talk like that. Everybody talks like that. So
he was ridiculed.
So that's how he felt.
Like he was ridiculed.
And so what I look at is this history of not having a welcoming atmosphere in structured education systems for Black. That is the history of education here, all the way back. I mean, from the very beginning, right after slavery and before slavery ended, it talked about there were free schools, and then later they tricked us and came and said, well, we're going to put a tax in to help raise money for those schools. And then as soon as they got the power to those schools, they shut them all down.
So would you agree?
So it's trickery. It's always trickery.
So in education, would you agree that because we don't see ourselves in the education,
that's right,
in the literature,
that's right,
in the
it
information,
isn't culturally relevant education.
So is that the same way? So when you talk about Black liberation theology, and you talk about Black education or information that Black men or little boys, little girls should get. I remember reading the book by Kunjufu about the countering the conspiracy to destroy Black boys. And he had mentioned this thing about the third grade syndrome, that they could not find males to identify with. But now I gotta interject this, and you could speak around this and with this.
Okay.
The Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that whole program. So we had on one side, they don't like us, but then we were trying to integrate another group. They don't like us, we don't care.
Right.
We need to love ourselves.
That's right.
We need to love ourselves.
That's right.
And do for self.
Yeah.
And we'll be all right.
That's right.
So how do we balance that?
Well, the problem with that today is that if we see most of the people that were involved, let me say this, before desegregation, I'll call it, as Rev Wright says, he says it's never been really integration, because that would mean you had to meld in together. We haven't done that. Desegregation means you're allowed to come in. But you could come in here. We desegregated. So what happened, I think, before that is that everybody had at least one common understanding, and that is that we weren't accepted, right, by the white masses, people in control. We weren't accepted by that. So in that regard, in that way, we all understood that we needed our own, right? Did our own schools and put together pennies and things like that, and tried to educate our own, because we knew that they were going to do it. So we had to do it. Well, today, because some people can get into, because they have desegregated some places and can get in, people are confused and think that that's integration, and think that that's multiculturalism and stuff, but it isn't. And
it's
that's
assimilation.
Cultural diversity. That's right. And so it forces you to put down your thing, and if you could behave well enough to mimic mine well enough, then you're acceptable, and I'll give you the crumbs. But if you don't, if you try to maintain who you are, it's kind of, it's not acceptable. You won't get as far.
So what do you want this book? So this book, by reading this book, regarding the education and even the piece, as you said, you look and reflect on the life of our brother, Dr. Jeremiah Wright.
That's right.
So walk away with, because the empowerment piece is so critical. And the state that we in, the trauma that we're living, and how do this book help Black folks that are watching, however they're watching and viewing this? What can they take away, and how could they find a place where they could get the book and read it for themselves and share it with their young Black boys?
Yes.
But what would they walk away with in terms of empowerment?
Well, what's fantastic. So Reverend Wright, look at Reverend Wright's history. He helped to, and you know, some people might count as wins, some might not, but he helped the first Black man to become president. Barack Obama said in his book that he kind of introduced him to himself, to his Black side. He got to learn a little bit about his Blackness and appreciate it there with Reverend Wright. Well, that's a huge thing, especially in this still racist society, for that to have happened, and for Barack to use whatever little bit of something that he picked up from Reverend Wright to help fortify him, and then couple that with his other things he had picked up from the other side, and then navigate them spaces and take his Black self up to that White House. So that's a major thing to happen. So that little contribution, that what may seem small for Reverend Wright, was really a big thing, and that is what he's known for. That people who come across him, they feel empowered and they feel okay with themselves. That's a powerful thing. So what the book talks about is what's in him. Make him do that. How was he raised? What were his experiences? That always, for me, I'm a core concept person, Greg. So I like to see what's at the bottom of something, not its manifestations, or not the surface stuff. I want to see what's at the bottom of it. So what is in this? I plan to do one about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as well. It's some interesting thing, because first I was going to include him in this, but what I found is he needed a book by himself. So I'm going to do his later. They each need a book by themselves. But what I want to see is not how you do, like people do success. This guy Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book. In one of his books, he talks about how our tendency is to look at people once they're successful and mimic what we think their success is, instead of looking at what shaped them. Look at the environment they came from. What made that person have those convictions that would make them different than the other person, right? What makes us participate in New Black Leadership Coalition? I bet if somebody did a study and look at our history, there are some traces, some elemental traces of ours that are similar, that our exposures, our experiences. And so what I wanted to do with Reverend Wright, and what I do, is look at his life and kind of see what shaped him, what made, because he's not magic man, something shaped him, what his environment was, what his experiences was, what shaped him. And then I talk about what he believes, which he got from his father. His father was a pastor, his grandfather was a pastor. He comes from a family of pastors and educators. So we get to see what they poured into him, and then he got to stand on their shoulders and build something. I love what you're saying.
I love it, because this question, the core, as you mentioned, and I'm going to say the foundation. The core, same thing.
Right.
What was he taught that he was not in agreement with? Then he got information, because I don't think he was always fostered in Black liberation theology. So what was it that he shared, or that about Reverend Wright, that we can use in the conversation, that he he was brought up this way, in terms of not so much his value system, but I don't know enough about. I mean, I know the brother, but in terms of was he a 2-parent household? Did he grow up here in Chicago, the South,
Philadelphia?
See.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but what's powerful about Reverend Wright to me is that, it's not just the church. So we think of the traditional church, right? He grew up, his father was a pastor, other preachers and stuff in his life. But what was fascinating about Reverend Wright's story to me that people don't know is that he at one time disconnected from the church, even though that was a big no-no in his family. He disconnected from the church because they weren't addressing the race issues. See, once that became in the 60s and that started popping, he was a part of that and feeling like it was wrong. He had experienced that. He went into service where he was discriminated against badly. you know. And then so he had these personal experiences, and he said that he was so bothered by the fact that at a rally with the people who in the church rallying against you, rallying against you at the rally, and then you back in the class with them in this regular. And we're supposed to be talking about learning about church and Christianity in this spiritual program we're in. So for him, those contradictions were too much. And in fact, there's a funny story he tells about him when he's disconnected from the church and he's sitting on the church steps drinking some wine. Him and a couple of his friends.
Communion.
And the church is closed. He had some friends that sitting out there and
crackers,
he's bashing, he's bashing religion, and he's just angry and, talking about, how hypocritical and it's religion, blah, 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 and all this. And this man walks up and he they offer the man some wine, and the man didn't want none, and he's talking, and the man engages him in the conversation. He and the man get in so deep that and ultimately left, and he and the man were left out there. And then once he finds out that he's bashing all the church, and the man is the preacher of the church whose step he's sitting on. And then the guy invited him to come to church because they had shared in conversation, and the guy wasn't bashing him. The guy was listening to him and trying to understand his position and explaining something to him. He said, well, you seem you got a problem with people's behavior.
Sound like your student.
Yeah, right. He had this great conversation with him. Then he asked him to come back to church. Rev Wright, that now was interesting. His dad had a church. He all around all these pastors, mentor pastors, but it was this stranger who met him where he was in his place of disconnect and disgruntledness with this system, with this structured type of system, that got him to come back to church. He went to church that Sunday, joined, and then he's been back. And he looked at it differently once he met this guy, and once he could infuse his real life. And that really impacted him. So that's kind of a model what he does. He don't just preach like this is separate and apart from what I'm living. He makes himself and makes others understand what we're experiencing, and uses the Bible to translate this thing and look at our current experiences.
So would you say that looking at the black church now, and the black boy, of young black males, not in the church,
right?
What will attract them to the church? If we talking black theology, black liberation theology,
that's what it will attract.
Or that little boy that you talked about earlier, where he was saying, hey, look, don't nobody like me, blah, blah, blah. So what's missing? What's missing?
So let me say this. So now I did the 3rd through 8th graders. And I looked at that. I've taught high school students. I taught at university level. Now I'm teaching in prison, in jail, Cook County Jail.
In the streets.
And I'm teaching
Cook
kidding, County Jail. And Cook County Jail.
The other jail.
Yeah, in the jail. So when I went in the jail to teach, when I proposed the program, I said I wanted to teach in maximum security. So I wanted to get the people that are considered the worst of the worst. Those are the people I wanted to get to.
You teach school at
I teach African American studies to people in the maximum security at Cook County Jail.
Oh, more.
And what's interesting? Our final class was a class on, each week we had a thing, just like I do in my classes at Chicago State. Each week we had a thing. The last week, the thing we covered was Black religion. And when you say what'll bring, so what I wanted to do is go talk to these gentlemen and that are incarcerated, because in my opinion, they are the leaders of those guys you're talking about in the streets. So I've been in every world you can be in. So I know the guys in academia, I've been around politicians, I've been around clergy. And so I grew up around these kind of guys in prison. So what I wanted to do is go in there and talk to these guys. And what I found is that when the week we covered Black religion, because we covered it in the context of how it relates to you as you as a Black man, that's what works. It worked for them. These guys were moved by that. I mean, I got a letter from a guy say he never experienced nothing like that. For that day, what I did was it wasn't about us trying to proselytize or anything like that. So I had Muhammad from the Nation of Islam there. I had Rev Reggie Williams, who's a Christian pastor. I had Amzi Moore, who is a Yoruba priest there. And so we had and then I had another gentleman, Abdullah, who teaches religion in there. Sometimes he had in prison. So I had all these different. Whatever, we're not saying join one thing or another. I'm not saying that, but they all talked about this whole the angle, the perspective was for the black man.
Well, listen, Malcolm X is a prime example of Detroit Red.
That's right.
In the joint.
That's right.
And what did he get?
That's right.
He got black liberation theology
that's right.
from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
And that that totally transformed.
I know it will.
His mind.
It will.
I mean, he had a renewing.
That's right.
And so
that's right.
So when you think about the state of the young men, and you mentioned beliefs. So on one hand, we have belief, a belief system that was based on somebody else's story, somebody else's information, misinformation about us. So one group making us feel a certain way. And so now you come in with a book to talk about, you connected Rev Wright, but then you mentioned the word beliefs.
Yeah. So listen to this. So beliefs for Rev Wright, I talked about what he believes, right? And it's a couple of different angles. One, he talked about what he believed, and he says that let me get it right. It's been a while since I wrote, but what you feel about affects what you feel about yourself, which affects how you shape your society. What you feel about others, which affects how you shape your society. That's what he believes. And so
now say that again, because I heard something in that. I love it.
Yes.
What I just heard.
Your theology. Let me see if I'm getting it right. Your theology affects your anthropology, which affects your sociology. I'm missing one. But anyway.
And psychology.
Psychology. So what you think about God tempers what you think about yourself, which tempers what I think about you, which tempers how I shape my society.
Well, look, man,
it's very powerful.
But listen what God said. How could you say you love me, whom you've never ever seen, and hate yourself, which what he's saying, not your brothers and sisters. That was said, but it was really pointing back to the man or the woman in the mirror. So all this so-called, and I'm glad you're talking about this. All this, I love God. God is love. Blah, blah, blah. But we don't love ourselves, because if we loved ourselves, then we would treat ourselves much better than what we do.
That's right. Which then that lends itself to all the other stuff we talk about. So he has those beliefs. He also talks about the cross and the relationship with God. And then that should temper your relationship with each other. So it's explained very well, and it's very powerful. And I can't see anybody being able to dispute anything that he says in there, any of that part of his belief, no matter what religion you're in. So that's very powerful, and I would like people to pick up that book. It's very powerful. But I'm gonna say that, to me,
where can they pick it up from?
Well, it's not available yet, but it'll be on Amazon. It'll be on Amazon or any place where books are sold. Yeah, but that to me affects this whole media thing, right? That's why I think people should read it, because what you take away is a clearer understanding of individuals, and then the big picture.
So in the context of leadership, and I try my very best, which I know it connects to every conversation about the leadership that we have. Well, individuals that are out there. But when we talk about new black leadership, a coalition of folks like yourself,
right,
great individuals, this kind of information should be coming from those that proclaim, wear that title, etc., that they are leaders.
Yeah.
But yet, I don't hear this coming from them.
Yeah. See, this whole concept of leadership, I don't completely buy, but I will take the title when people say leader because I am a facilitator. So I have gathered some information that I guide people through or provide to people to help them navigate.
Can y'all hear? Because is this mic on?
So
it's on. It is on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's better.
So I have spent some time gathering information that I provide to people that help them navigate things. So in that regard, I'll take the leadership thing. But I think everybody should be a leader in different ways at different points and whatever their strength is in, right? So
it take courage what you're doing. That's what I'm saying. For you to take on this.
Yeah.
So this your ministry.
Right.
I mean,
That's
it's
right.
not about
Reverend
Wright as much as it's about you telling a story.
Yeah.
And then this young man touched you in a way where you feel you need to get this information out.
Right. Because I want to figure it out because I'm looking at, and then that was profound to me when he said, like, what I think about you what I think about God affects what I think about myself. And then that affects what I think about you and then how I structure my society. So for myself and everybody, I could see, that's why I said I don't defend personalities generally, because I could see the God in everybody. Some people I see some demonish stuff in too, but I could see the God in people too. And so that's what I try to attend to. And then I try to separate things out. So not holistically, you writing and this one is good, because that's not, I haven't found that to be true ever. So what I do is look at behaviors and things about people, and then I might critique people, the whole thing, but I criticize a particular behavior or something like that. And that's what I want us to grow up and be more mature in the way we look at things. So because we won't figure it out separating ourselves, right? And based on superficial and shallow things like, oh, these people wear that, these people look that, these people bend to the left, these people bend to the right. I mean, it matters somewhat, but it doesn't matter in this grand scheme. And the question you asked earlier about, us doing for self, that's where our most difficult thing is now, because we have so many options and so many choices that we aim to focus on those things instead of the things that we all suffer the same on.
Are you still a member over at Trinity?
Yes.
Okay. And so too much into the new pastor there, Reverend Moss, and the church, and you had mentioned Barack Obama, that somewhat did denounce his church and his preacher. Yet he was taught Black liberation theology. But then if you want to be accepted, didn't I say that? If you try to bring yourself and your own stuff into this mainstream
you have to
thing,
deny.
You got to deny. You got to put that down.
If you come in here and pick up the other flag.
Because that goes both ways.
Yeah.
The other master said, if you would be mine, deny yourself. But men, not so much don't love yourself, but the stuff that you caught up in, that distracts you from the work.
That's right.
So in the prison, maximum security. You teaching Black history?
Yeah, I'm teaching Black history. And you know what? It's interesting. My husband and I both teaching in there, and then we brought in guests, a lot of people from the New Black Leadership. Several of the guys from the New Black Leadership Coalition came in at different weeks and talked about different things. And it's a powerful thing.
I want to go
back.
You
got to come.
Let me tell you something. My experience in the prison was I was invited more than 20 years ago to Joliet Prison for Black History. I was invited to be the guest speaker. During Black History Month, I was their guest speaker.
Yeah.
And so The day that I went there to speak,
it was a riot.
No, it wasn't a riot, but that day it was close to a riot. Because let me tell you why. No, hell, it was close to a riot.
Okay.
Earl, you got to hear this. It was close to a riot. You know why? The guy came back. I'm standing at the podium. Now I'm waiting. And he says this to me. He said, because I'm all fired up and they could look at me and tell it was something different.
Yeah.
So the one brother came up to me and he said, man, where you grow up at? I said, on 48th and State. He said, bro, I thought you was from the Robert Taylor, blah, blah. So this cat had been doing, I thought he was he worked there.
Had that kind of freedom. Yeah.
And then and so I didn't know he had been there for 25, 30 years. So he told me, this is what he told me. God is my witness. He said, boy, you sure came on a bad day. He said, but I'm gonna go and get him out. I'm gonna bring him in. He said, because they serving chicken.
Oh, wow.
He said on the day they serve chicken, it's like a commodity.
Yeah.
He said everybody trade chicken. For all the stuff, because they don't get to have chicken as often.
That's right.
Because a lot of them turn vegetarian, stop eating swine, and etc. So he said, but I'm going to get everybody out of the whatever they call it, the cafeteria, etc. And he got all those cats, and I'm looking at their faces, and they look and they say, damn it, you better be saying something important, man, because
this our chicken.
Damn, this is
that's right.
Don't you know why? Who's scared of you on a chicken day, man?
That's right. Okay. That's right.
I was like,
damn. It matters.
Boy, I was like, let me think of something.
That's right. You like, man.
But I mean, God blessed me to connect with them because the humor in me is what got them. And then so I was able to go ahead and talk about what I wanted to talk to them about. And honestly, this connects to what you're saying. I said this to them. I said, I feel real crazy in this place, getting ready to invoke the spirit of our ancestors about Black history. And we inside of here hating each other.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, it's kind of hard for me to do that. And then you go back to being against him after I talk about the richness and the power.
Well, see,
and that got their attention.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know there were people in there that, you know, like you said, you go all the way back.
Yeah.
But if you went back to all of those young people, I mean, when they were young, and you had an opportunity, you said you brought the new Black leadership in there.
Yeah.
Are those men getting addressed that have went on in their life when they was boys, little boys?
Right.
I know they taking it in.
That's right.
They're glad somebody there visiting, but do address that have them in there.
That's what we're trying to do, because that's not, see, the county too, as Sheriff Dart explained, the county jail is supposed to be a temporary detention center, so you're not really supposed to be there that long. That's why the programming isn't as strong, because you're just supposed to be there waiting.
They can't make bond.
But what happens is people end up being there like a prison. The jail and prison is different. It's supposed to be a separate, so they end up being there a long time. But so that's why I wanted to go in there where these guys end up spending. First of all, when guys are arrested, 90% of them end up back on the street, right? And so to me, if we don't attend to them, if you have to go into, one of my young cousins called it a savage training ground, right? So if you have to go into savage, he in prison, he tell me it's a savage training ground. You have to go in, you have to adjust to savagery, and you have to survive it. So that's what you adjust to. So if we don't try to clean that up some, when you release these young fellas, you get all the experiences they've had and what they've had to develop. Some of them weren't that hard like that, and when they went in there. Though. But because of things that happened to them.
Absolutely.
And some of them, if you had that one mistake, now you go in and you with people who about doing the worst of the worst, then you have to man up basically to deal with that. The beautiful thing about our tier that we're on now. They have what's called the education tier in the county. So they're doing this project where everybody on the tier, you have to have no incidents of violence in order to be on the education tier. So in that way, it cuts down your having to have that protective
no violence
thing.
when.
No violence while you're in there. You can't, in order to be in that tier, it's a whole tier in the prison in Division 10. In order to stay on there, you have to have no incidents of violence. So what I'm proud of is that our class, our students, we had 2 classes, our students, the worst offense they got was somebody had made some moonshine and hid it under the bench. And that's some hooch where they put the fruit in the thing and let it, ferment.
They probably slept
let
well
it ferment and they leave it under the bench to make their own.
But ain't that amazing?
They're brilliant. These are brilliant guys.
But think about that. Moonshine in the prison.
Yeah.
They probably was going to put them to sleep. Yeah. Probably was going to relax some of them. That's probably got a bunch of crazy tension. But yet they sell it at Kenbark and Kenwood. Yeah. And make a lot of money. That's the world we live in. That's what I think is amazing. Much hypocrisy to the max. You getting in trouble. Yeah. And then how did they get it in there?
Well, no, they took their fruit, like they come with your food, and you put it in the liquid and you ferment it, and then it turns, the liquid.
Oh, yeah.
So they do that. But what I think is brilliant is, and this is what I know, just like when you talked about Juwanza Kunjufu, when he talks about those 3rd and 4th grade, what the research shows is a lot of these students, and what I've seen myself, a lot of these students are high performing, critically thinking young kids. But they disconnect because they don't feel welcomed in this structured education system, right? But they're bright. But now what you do is use that intelligence to do whatever style living you're doing. Oftentimes it's crime. And so when you get to the jail, you see these same guys who have had to be creative. And I mean, they amazing. When we go in, we have to be careful. Some things we had to learn, like they could make out of anything. I mean, anything you can make a knife out of. So I'm saying, where these dudes, where you get that? And we talk openly with them. So I'm saying, I don't understand. It's all this genius. We got to go in there and we got to get this genius. We got to rechannel. We got to give other options, because if you make people live in certain environments and live certain ways, then we judge them for it. To me, that's what's hard. That's what's hard for me. So you got all these guys. I told the guys in prison that why I think Black liberation theology is work is because this whole Black studies thing it always works to empower people. In the 70s, we had our best performance record in education. And that's when Black power was in. And Black people did the best in Chicago schools than they had in any other period before or since, right? In the 70s. We also had the gangs. The gangs the main gangs taught Black history to people. That wasn't just willy-nilly. They taught you to like and appreciate yourself. They taught you that you were powerful, and they taught Black history to the gang members. That's why people felt so vested in that, because this is our stuff. This is us. They felt a welcoming spot. And so what I'm saying, what I suggest and have been suggesting, is that we use that same culturally relevant instruction, culturally relevant cultural relevance to meet people where they are, and then to show the history of what we've done before, and then help us to do it again. That's what you have to do.
Well, you know what you're saying connects, because I'm telling you, when I joined the nation, and I as a young boy, I started referring to myself, and brothers would come in, you coming in my house, and my mother's sitting there with my aunt. He comes in, he go, what's going on, God? And they go, did he just call you God? He said, well, and so he said, the Black man is God. Say, what? He said, and then my mother heard me talking to some other folks saying that I'm the maker, the God of the universe. How it go, Michael? How do we say it? Because it was so powerful. Yeah. That you telling people you are the God of the universe. the maker, the owner.
Is that right? So, when Kanye said that, did you understand him to be meaning the same thing?
Yeah, because see, we are the original people of the planet. So, I mean, we needed a shock. We needed a shock treatment because we had been totally related.
Yeah.
I mean, robbed completely of the knowledge of self.
That's right.
So
that's right.
We had a man to come to us to totally wash our brains. Wash our brains.
Right.
Because people, they turned it around, tell me something. You brainwash. Hell, you know, your brains need to be washed.
Yeah, right.
Because what you've been taught has been self-destruction.
That's right. That's right.
That little boy that you referred to.
Yeah.
I mean, so in your book, if it can teachers or instructors take sections from your book and infuse that in classroom studies?
Sure, absolutely. Listen, all of the things that anything, any pop culture thing, right? Any book, I could take any book, I could teach something out the Bible without trying to convert people. Right, I can use the media, as you said, to teach a lesson. Surely,
you can convert them as long as you convert them to do for self. I mean, because I think at some point we need to be converted.
Yeah,
converted to the point where we just sitting around like beggars.
Yeah,
and we converted. So if you're gonna convert people into a black liberation theology, and we just not gonna be scholars of it, but we're gonna be taking doers.
Yeah, doers.
So I mean, we need some conversion.
Yeah. Well, you know, I call it helping just to kind of help you get back to yourself. Because to be honest, like I say, you look at little kids, they understand that they're deserving. They ask,
absolutely,
absolutely. And then you have to be trained. You have to be broken to get that out of you. So what I try to do is give people back, give you back to yourself. Try to give you back to yourself.
That's interesting.
And for some of the people who have been in an environment from the time they were born where they didn't get to explore self and all that, what I do, then I introduce those people to themselves.
So Reverend Wright, the man that he is, an honorable brother.
Absolutely.
And the work that he's been blessed to do. You got, so Reverend, I think his name is Cone. It's Cone.
Yeah.
That stem from him and other black theology scholars.
Right.
When you think about that, and you take that information and you put that inside of a book, and you take that inside of a prison.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see? I mean, when you go back and you've taken other speakers in there to address them, do we have a way to measure or to check with following up on them? I know some of them in there for long.
Even though it's supposed to be short time, but they longer, especially maximum security, they're a little longer. So what we did, we're off for this month, and we don't start back until September. So as our gift for the parting ceremony, we gave them books.
Good.
Books to them. So, and then
what books did you give
all
them?
Different books. It wasn't one book. We gave them a little library. We gave them a little library.
But what kind of books did you have with you? Like what? Because I'm interested in the books that they get, honestly.
Okay, well, I gave a lot of books that we use in Black Studies, to be honest.
That's fine.
So
they draw
and
from
all kind of books.
True.
So I gave some fiction, I gave some nonfiction book, I gave some that because what the purpose was, I'm trying to get a library in there, and it's a little slow getting, it's harder. So I told them I'm going to give each one of you all a book, and then you all do study groups with each other and pass the books around. Good. So I think I gave out probably I might have gave out 22 books, but it's out off of our reading list.
How do they react when you give them a book?
Oh, they like to see. Let me tell you this, what's powerful for me. So we go in, we're in this maximum security thing. Right off the jump, I tell the guys, we're here not because we don't get paid for this. Nobody asked us to do it. We sought out and use Connects, to come in here to talk to you.
Very good.
And then I told the guys that I wanted to come talk to you because this is where the leaders are. This is where the leaders are. What I know is the guys in maximum security, my little cousins respect them. The guys I know, guys from the shooters, you know, we see all these festivals and fun and outdoor things going on in Chicago, but it's the same group of people doing that. And the shooters are still the shooters. They're not involved in all of these things we're doing. They're not involved in. But the other young guys respect those shooters who stood up. They respect all the guys in our class. You know, I didn't find out till later. This was the powerful story. So we go in there and we do being honest and teaching and sharing and loving these guys and caring about these guys. Then later, for some, I didn't even remember each guy's name. You know, it wasn't trying to do that. I know them when I get there, but later I get the names, Greg, and we go in. And for some, I had to look up one for something. And what I find is, off my list, these guys are infamous. Everybody on the list, you know, in my class did major, you know, a murder, basically. Everybody on the list. And then I start reading just out of curiosity about, they all in the headlines, all of them been in the headlines. And I'm reading just out of curiosity. And then instantly, media trained me comes in to say like, whoa, I don't, you know, whoa, I didn't know that's who I'm in there with. Maybe I should have read. And then I remind myself, you know, the beautiful thing is I had already developed relationships with these guys now. So I care about them. So I don't see them as that incident. I don't see them as that crime. I see them as human beings because that's how I met them. That's how I came to know them. See, I didn't know that crimes.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
That word that I heard, I think Dr. King used it too, the derivatives. So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Of the crime.
Yeah.
That was against humanity, our people. Yeah. That's what we see. I mean, I call it like I see it.
That's what we see.
There's no justification. We can't sugarcoat some of this senseless violence.
Yeah.
But just like, you know, when people are talking about OJ, I didn't see OJ as a criminal.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. This time.
I see him as a victim. I didn't see him as one the first time.
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
And don't nobody else know.
Yeah.
And it's too many black men and women have been falsely accused for us not to be totally sensitive to the degree that if somebody that I know don't tell me, hell, I can't believe nothing. And if Mark Furman, I mean, this cat got a television show after he lied. So that's why I tell people, be careful. I mean, I understand because we so caught up into television. That's why girls trip, because that's all we do is watch television and movies any damn way.
Yeah.
And this ain't nothing against the people acting and making you laugh.
Right.
But we program
for entertainment.
For entertainment.
Yeah,
and I just said that, but the person who should have been apologizing was the damn prosecutor. The prosecutor should have came before the whole world and said, let me apologize for my wickedness.
Yeah.
Because I gave this man 8 years and abused what I claim and call justice and law. And see, that's what I'm saying. And if you don't do that, you perpetuate.
So let me say this about prison and stuff like that. I don't automatically think that people are innocent or guilty. I really don't. I look at it as a case-by-case situation. And I know some people are guilty.
Some of them are.
I know some people are not
guilty. Some of them are.
Some people are not guilty. Some people are guilty. So I do understand.
Because you're going to be sensitive to that little boy. If that little boy that you talked with, if he end up in the joint, heard him talk about how he feel about himself and how he feel others feel about him, what would you say if he was caught up?
Yeah, no, listen, he's still guilty for killing somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
But I will also I won't separate that from the system that produced that feeling or that moment that made him kill somebody.
Malcolm called it the hate that produces the hate.
Yeah. That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
We cannot run away from that. Not to make excuses for any type of crime, and because you you're guilty of that, you got to deal with it. But look, I can't believe the time have gone by. I think we're being cheated over here because we didn't get the same hour. Everybody, normally the hours last longer than this. We're having a good conversation. And man, we got to do part 2.
Okay.
Because you got so much. And I mean, how many books?
About 11 books.
11 books.
Yeah.
Before we leave, if you give a title, one of the books that people can go and get.
It's currently out.
It's currently out.
Well, let me see. Woman to Woman. Yeah, go to my website. My website.
What's the website?
Readme4.com.
Say it again.
Readme, then the number 4.com. You can look up my name, Kim L. Dulaney, Dulaney, and then it'll probably pop up too. Readme4.com.
I've enjoyed this conversation with you. I can't wait to be invited to go. And not the day today.
I had chicken.
Having chicken. I want to go on the regular day.
Absolutely. You don't want to get on the chicken day. Okay.
Anyway, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
The great one of our most powerful members of the new Black leadership right here, folks.
Thank you.
Live in the studio. Appreciate you, love you, dear. And thanks to your powerful husband, Philly man. You like something about the Philly man. Peace and love, you all.
Thanks.